Now before we do get agitated with you, Grady. With that, Michael, could we take a roll call, please?
Alderman Bob Bauman. Here. Alderwoman Malali Coggs. Alderwoman Coggs, you're on mute.
Present.
Mr. Grady Crosby.
Here.
Mr. Mark Flaherty. Representative Kaylin Haywood.
Here.
Senator LaTanya Johnson.
Here.
Mr. James Cantor.
Here.
Secretary Kathy Colton Blumenfeld.
Present.
Senator Devin LeMahieu. Mr. Scott Mansky.
Here.
Mr. Greg Marcus. Mayor Dennis McBride.
Present.
Alderman Jose Perez. Mr. Gerard Randall.
Present.
Representative Jesse Rodriguez.
Here.
Ms. Aichasawa.
Here.
Mr. Omar Sheikh.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First order of business is the discussion, if there is any, and the approval of the meeting minutes from the last board meeting on 1/20/2023. Is there any discussion? I'd like to entertain a motion for approval.
Moving on.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. With that, we'll turn over to Steve Marsh for our financial report and update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Today's financial update includes a review of the year-to-date income statement through January, as well as our fiscal year-end forecasts. We'll also review several financial exhibits pertaining to the expansion project. And just a quick reminder that at our next board meeting in May, the 2022 audited financial statements will be presented by Baker Tilly. At that board meeting, as is customary, we'll be asking the board to vote on adopting the financial statements for the fiscal year. We, of course, will be reviewing the financials with the Finance Committee the week before that board meeting and seeking their endorsement to take to the board. If there are any questions on the audit, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. So on to the financial packet. We'll start with our year-to-date financials as summarized on page 7 with column IDs A, B, C, and D at the top. Starting with line 65, column C, you can see we exceeded the budget net income number by $529K in January. Much of this positive variance is driven by line 35, interest income. Most of the income in this category is a result of earnings on the district's expansion project funds. However, we are also seeing more interest earned from operating accounts and our bond trust accounts. The increased income is a direct result of higher than expected carrying balances as well as very robust interest rate market. Line 28, net operating income, is down relative to budget for January, largely a result of line 18, utilities. There's a sizable variance here, and much of that is driven by an underallocation of expense within our budget for this particular month. This underallocation is offset in latter months, so I would expect to see this variance decrease as we progress throughout the fiscal year. You'll also see that lines 3 and 4, labor revenue and food and beverage revenue, respectively, are down relative to budget. Some of that is a result of actualizing less blue sky events in January than were budgeted. After reviewing the remainder of the event calendar, we do believe there are opportunities later in the year to make that up, provided we can work around planned renovations in the existing building. It's a puzzle we're still putting together and expect to have more of an update on blue sky at the May board meeting. Lines 29 and 34, tax revenues are still in at budget. January results will be received later this month, which will better inform us of how we project forecasts in this category for the remainder of the year. Non-operating expenses, line 64, are coming in overall under budget by about $65K. One category to note, Visit Milwaukee, line 49. We are projecting to see an increase in this expense relative to budget as a result of how the fourth quarter tax revenues came in much better than expected. This will continue to be a negative variance throughout the year, as was the case in fiscal year 22, which also had a negative variance in this category. Management has no concerns about meeting this obligation, as any material increase in this expense is a direct result of an increase in tax revenues. Overall, in January, not really any material deviations from budget that management is concerned about. Page 8 of your packet, you'll see a comparison of the 23 annual budget to the 23 forecast. Based on the results through January and our own analysis of the events calendar and district operations, at this time we see no need for the year-end forecast to deviate substantially from budget except in two categories. And again, that's line 35 interest income and line 49 Visit Milwaukee expense. In both of these categories, the variances are pretty well locked in, or at least have an established floor. We could see interest income continue to rise relative to budget if the interest rate environment remains robust and the cash flow drawdown schedule for the project allows us to continue to execute our short-term investment strategy. As for Visit, the bulk of the variance in this category was set after receiving the December tax revenue results last month. However, part of this expense is also driven by 23 county hotel tax revenues, which are currently projected at budget. Depending on how those numbers actualize, the variance may move modestly from its current position, albeit with less impact than seen from the finalization of the 22 city hotel tax revenues. Overall, for now, we are expecting to be better than budget based on these two category adjustments, and will continue to execute on the budget plan and adjust operations accordingly as additional financial results come in. Pages 10 and 11 are the cash flow documents. Page 10 projects unrestricted cash flow for the remainder of the fiscal year and incorporates the numbers as were just reviewed from the income statement. Based on the state of current and projected cash balances, management has no concerns about meeting its operational obligations over the next 12 months. Page 11, the restricted revenue projection, shows the change in cash at year end to be just over $3 million. We had budgeted to see a $2.3 million increase in this account for fiscal year 23. We're currently projecting to earn about $700K more than that as a result of the November and December tax revenue results, which are noted on lines 2 and 3. Those came in substantially better than forecast. Certainly good news there so far. Pages 12 and 13 represent our capital budget for 23. And for now, we continue to forecast our budget. No significant changes thus far this year. And page 14 is the event mix schedule that we shared with you during the October board meeting and again in January. We are still forecasting our budget of 300 events in 23. Page 15 is the project budget, and along with that, summary numbers of the contracts encumbered by budget category. A key takeaway from this exhibit is that 95% of the overall project budget is under contract, which substantially limits the amount of pricing risk the project faces. Certainly good news to be in a position of budget stability there. Page 16 represents a schedule of the cash draws the district expects to make during the remaining timeline of the project. Not a lot of variation from the schedule that we presented in January. Mr. Chairman, that was a pretty quick and efficient walkthrough of the financials. For this time of year, no unexpected significant changes or deviations from budget. That concludes the financial report.
Thank you. We like efficiency at a financial group. Are there any questions of Steve from the financial report and update? I think some of those new things you put in, Steve, also are very helpful for us to get our head around some of those new reports. So thank you for that. With that, we'll turn it over to Marty, and we'll go to our CEO report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve, efficiency is nice, accuracy is better. Good morning. Thank you all for participating today, those of you in person and those of you virtually. I'll be brief this morning. A quick update on the event activities that have been booked into our properties since our January board meeting. We've added 6 new events to the Miller High Life Theater calendar, 2 UWM Panther Arena events, and 12 meetings, conventions, and receptions into the Wisconsin Center for months ahead. Of note, in the Panther Arena, earlier this week, we hosted the second annual Wisconsin Esports Alliance. It was their second annual convention conference, sold out, a little over 400 people. Great event, and that's esports is a market we are looking to learn more about and potentially in the future get more involved with them as a tenant. In February, we had an annual event of ours, Anime, come in, which brings a lot of people into the hotels, restaurants, bars. They're very passionate fans, dressing in very colorful manners, spending a lot of money in our city. And this year they broke an attendance record over the 3 days, over 12,800 people. So they continue to love Milwaukee, and we continue to love them. Just an update on the successes of events we've recently had. I've mentioned in the January meeting that we had launched a gala giveaway promotion. As of today, we've had 64 organizations submit applications to participate. The closing deadline for that is March 31st. So if anyone has an organization, not-for-profit, that is interested in being considered for a giveaway of a gala in the new Convention Center Ballroom, you can please direct them to www.galagiveaway.com. In January, I mentioned that a group of us were going to Boston to meet with our colleagues at the Boston Convention Center to get a better understanding of what and how they bring people into their building. The Boston Convention Center was the first convention center facility to gain Homeland Security's certification for their safety measures. So there's certainly an organization that we can learn from and would look to model ourselves after. Great takeaways. They've got some very interesting technologies in place that we're pursuing. More to come on that, but we are continuing our investigation to develop a security plan for the convention center when we expand. It's on the cutting edge, leading edge of convention centers around the country. On the naming rights side, we certainly are going to go into a pretty detailed presentation later on in closed session, but I did want to mention to you that that's coming in closed session. Wrong thought there. Sorry about that. As far as the expansion, I'll be turning over to Mike Abrams in a moment, but did want to make you all aware, and please mark your calendars, for April 11th, 2 p.m. will be the topping off ceremony, another milestone date for the project. And we've already received confirmation from the governor's office, county executive's office, and the mayor's office that they'll all be in attendance. So invitations will be coming out next week, but please mark your calendars now. Again, that's 2 p.m. on April 11th. We'd like to have you there. For this point in the program, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report, and would like to turn it over to Mike Abrams to do the expansion update.
Thanks. Any questions before that for Marty on the report? All right, Mike, the floor is yours, buddy.
Morning, Mike.
Okay, great. All right, we'll do a brief update on the construction progress today. I want to give you guys an update on diversity and inclusion, roll into safety, quick construction update. We've got a great video, short video to show with some drone footage of the project. And then, if you didn't know, it's National Women in Construction Week this week. So certainly our project has been profiled. There's a lot of female workforce on our project that we're all proud of, and we're celebrating this week. First update is on our workforce inclusion, and this is the RPP updates, which is the Residence Preference Program update. And in past updates, we have shown that we were falling a little bit short of our goal of 40% in the left-hand column going through last year. But at that time, we had a plan on recovery. A lot of the early trades and scope packages didn't align with the program early on due to the operator's scope and some of the early trades. We have increased that over the past 6 or 7 months from the fall. Now we are over 40%, so we've reached our goal so far. And the plan is to continue to increase this amount throughout the rest of the project as we are onboarding some of the finished trades and mechanical electrical trades still on the project. So that's great news and great progress. Generally, our workforce chart here with our 40% goal with the RPP, also the special impact, which is the second item on here for RPP. Those are the targeted zip codes. There's 8 targeted zip codes, and we had a 25% target on that. We're crushing that at 41%. Doing really well. The balance of the workforce, we're also doing really well overall at almost 45% out of a 31% goal. You can see the mix between the women, disabled veteran business or workforce, and minority workforce. There are plans in place and strategies still in place to increase not only the female percentage, but also the disabled veteran percentages with some of the current subcontractors. A lot of them have committed to increasing their goals, so there's definitely a lot of attention still paid to meeting each individual bucket, not just the overall goals of this program. The next slide is the contracting side and the updates, and again, exceeding the goals, the 31% goal at the bottom, we're almost at 37%. So overall, doing a great job. The project team has done a great job targeting these firms. You can see, again, the breakdown between individual buckets and, again, strategies to increase the minority contracting and also the disabled veteran contracting are in place with certain subcontractors. And we're confident that those numbers will continue to increase throughout the balance of the project. Rolling into some of our safety metrics, here are some of the numbers that we update every month in this meeting. We've got over 1,000 now workers that have gone through the orientation safety program. We're averaging about 265 workers on site right now. We think we'll probably top out at about 300 in the next couple of months. The 45,000 work hours in the past month, which we're seeing an increase on that. The 441,000 work hours to date. We've had a lot of safety inspections. The project team has put a lot of emphasis on safety with all the trades. We did have the one recordable incident from last year that we had mentioned in a couple of board meetings with a worker that was on the concrete wall forming crew and had a safety incident, and he's still recovering, doing some therapy, and hopefully he'll be back on the job site or another job site here pretty soon. Overall construction update, before we play the video here, we're still tracking fairly confident for LEED Silver. We're meeting all the D&I overall goals. We're 60% into the schedule right now, so we've got a little over 12 months remaining till substantial completion. We're about 18 months into our 30-month schedule. About 40%, almost 40% build. On schedule, everything's going really well. Crews are on schedule, and the emphasis right now is topping off, getting done with steel and concrete here in the next few months. We have escalators being fabricated on the job site right now for the past month or so. We'll start setting those here in the upcoming months. And then the enclosure, the exterior walls of the building will start coming together starting this spring. And we've had our mechanical, electrical, plumbing trades on site, and there's been some great progress there on the interior side. The south, this building, there's a significant scope of work that we are starting here in the next month or so with painting, planning for carpeting, signage, furniture, a lot of great upgrades so we can keep the north and the south buildings consistent. And again, just to reiterate, our substantial completion date is March 22nd of 2024. So we want to play it's about a 90-second flyover video. On the west side of the project, it shows that large exhibit hall storage room that's kind of built right there in the helix ramp. Shows the 6 new loading dock bays. You can start seeing the full height of the ballroom framing kind of in the center of the building, starting to pop. The exhibit hall, where you see all these large trusses, will complete out to Kilbourne Avenue here in the next month or so. So we'll start really seeing the steel and the concrete take shape. We've got our large red crane out on Kilbourne now for steel erection. And coming around the front end, you can see the front lobby structure and shape starting to take shape here, and all the work that's going to be involved with exterior glazing and framing. We still have our 2 tower cranes on site. One of them will probably leave here in the next couple of months. And then just kind of wrapping around the south end, the highest structure there is the back end of the ballroom elevation. There's some back of house space, and there's a kitchen space back there, but I think that's pretty close to the end. Kind of gives you a good current shot. I believe this was shot a couple of 2 or 3 days ago, so it's fairly current. Okay. And then Women in Construction Week. As I get the presentation loaded back up. This is National Women in Construction Week. It's really a celebration this week of women in a very male-dominated industry. With Sarah Mayo's leadership and the current female workforce on our project in the past week or two, they've come together as a group. There was a discussion group that occurred, I think it was the end of last week or early this week, with Sarah facilitating that with all of our female workforce. Just really having good discussion about the challenges of female workforce in general. And then Sarah and her group and Charlie have profiled individual workers. Each day there's a different female worker for our project that's being recognized and profiled on the website. And if you can go to buildingmore.com, you can see all the great stuff that's been posted. So we want to conclude with just another short video of our women in construction.
Hi, my name is Holly Brenner, and I serve as Senior Vice President for C.D. Smith Construction. Women in Construction Week is important to me and to our company because it really reinforces our commitment to hiring the best and the brightest, period. It's a great reminder not to judge a book only by its cover. It's very exciting to be part of this as a woman in construction, really as anyone in construction, because of what it means to our community. It's an exciting addition and expansion. I think everyone's looking forward to it being open.
Hi, my name is Alicia Dupies. I work for Gilbane Building Company. I'm Vice President of our Milwaukee office and thrilled to be part of the Gilbane Smith team on the Wisconsin Center expansion. I have been a woman in construction for over 20 years. I'm the mother of 3 girls, two whom are very interested in the STEM fields, and seeing how a project site and how STEM is embracing more young girls and women is something that I think is long overdue. So seeing the Wisconsin Center expansion project, really building from the ground up, and the number of women that we have involved, I think that we often talk about representation matters, and in this case, representation really matters. It's important to see other people who look and sound like you, and we recently did a study to kind of a culture test to see how things are going on the job site, and received great feedback from people who are non-traditional in the construction industry. And so it's wonderful to see the support of our client, the Wisconsin Center District, in embracing diversity and inclusion and seeing it carried out every day on the job site.
My name is Allie Dahlgren. I am a project safety manager at the Wisconsin Center Expansion Project for Gilbane Smith. It's a time to highlight that women are currently working in the industry, and they are able to do what may not have been ever presented to them growing up I know when I was a kid, construction was never an industry that was like, oh, this could be a future for you. So it is a time to recognize that women are here, they are doing it, and it is a great opportunity to make good money and be active and have a very fulfilling career. I know in my time in construction, I've had quite a few Women in Construction Weeks working at the Wisconsin Center Expansion Project. This is one of the first times that it really has been highlighted. Last year I was highlighted during Women in Construction Week, and I was on the news. I got to take home the video and show my daughter, and I was like, look, I work in construction and I'm on TV. And she was really impressed with that. I think that it's cool to be able to show my daughter that this is what her mom does every day. And I mean, construction is just a cool industry, and it's cool to see. I think she was surprised with me working in construction that, like, whoa, my mom does that, and that's not something that a lot of moms do. So that was really cool to show her.
Great. That concludes my update. If there's any questions, we can take those now.
Are there any questions for Mike?
Hey, Mike, this is Grady. Real quick, on your D&I numbers, I think you showed your numbers in two dimensions. You showed them in terms of the distribution of the workforce, and then you show them in terms of the distribution of the overall expansion project contracts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so when you show your numbers with regard to the contracts, is that inclusive of all contracts associated with the expansion project, to include design, services, legal, investment, banking, those professional services?
That's correct. It's not just construction. It's the professional services portion as well. But if you look at the construction contract amount versus the professional services contract amount, it's about maybe 8 or 9 times greater in construction contract amounts versus professional services. But yes, they're included. They're all included together in these numbers.
Good deal. I was wondering, it'd be great if we could see how your D&I number stacks up just in the professional services space. I think that would be an interesting look.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have that. We can provide it to Marty, and they can distribute that for sure.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet.
Great. Thanks. Go ahead. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say good job on getting all of this to this stage and reporting the numbers to us and telling us where your progress is. I just see that you're taking this very seriously, and even though you've achieved the percentage, you're still trying to get up the numbers that are lower. And so I appreciate that, and also appreciate the piece you had on the women in construction to honor that too and provide that honoring. So I just want to tell you and the other entities that I appreciate that very much. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you. And really the credit is mostly with the construction teams, our consultants. Everybody's been focused on the D&I goals, some mandated goals and some elective goals that we've decided to add to the project as well with the RPP program. So there's been a lot of attention on that. Everyone's very passionate about not only making the overall goals, but making the individual buckets within those goals.
And Scott, thank you for those comments. Just as a point, I think it was about 6-8 months ago when we first started reporting how we were going, and we weren't satisfied because we were off our mark where we thought we would be. We began meeting monthly as a group, with we being the district, ICON, Gilbane, and CD Smith, to go through what we were doing, what we could do to ensure that there was a proactive plan to achieve these numbers, not having our fingers crossed and hoping they would happen. It's really a proactive approach by Icon, CD Smith, and Gilbane that have enabled us to do this, and as you identified, Scott, will cause us to surpass even the numbers we're hitting now.
And also, quick shout out to Randy Crump with Prism and his group, and also Carla Cross with Cross Management. Both of our D&I consultants have done a great job.
Hey, last question, Mike, on that point. You know how we have the websites set up so that WMBEs can make their services known and apply for different roles and jobs with regard to the project, and so that gives us kind of a database of folk in the WMBE space that we can go to for different trades and services. Does that information, where does that go at the end of the project? Is that proprietary to us, or is that information available for other projects in the city? I see you shaking your head, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely available. We have relied on our consultants for business contracting. It's Carla Cross who has, her database. I believe she's got any businesses that have been certified and updated. And so we meet with her preliminary, like before the project. We understand who's in what category. We target those businesses. But she's our resource for that information. And hopefully that's being updated on her end continuously. But yeah, we can also, if you want, we can share that updated document.
All right, good stuff. Last question, I promise. On the procurement side, you talked at the end about a number of products and carpeting and all this kind of stuff that's going into the center district. Do we have supplier diversity goals on that content as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's all part of the overall numbers. So yeah, that's in there as well. Grady.
Great, and seeing that's Grady's last question, does anybody else have any questions? Great, thanks for the questions, Grady. All right, with that, we will go to the next topic, which is our naming rights negotiation status. So at this point, the board may enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating specified public business when competitive and bargaining reasons require a closed session. I would entertain a motion to go to closed session.
So moved, McBride.
Do we have a second?
Second, Blumenfeld.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. We will now move to closed session. We will wait a moment for us to get the room cleared and everything secured. right, are we back on with everybody live? Great, everybody back in the room. All right, now that we're back in open session, at this time, I would entertain a motion to authorize Marty to enter into the naming rights agreement under the discussed terms in the closed session. Oh, thank you, Bob. Do we have a second?
Gerard seconds.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion carries. The next order of business here is our future board meeting dates. Please note the May date is when we go through the audit, and then we'll have the summer off, I guess, essentially, summer vacation, and then we'll come back and we do vote then in October on the full budget. So please make sure you adhere to those. It's important. We've taken some of these meetings off over time because we're in a good spot, but those are very important for us to be at. Sorry, yes. Also, as not on the agenda, but in open session, we are very pleased and proud to announce that Baird will be the naming rights partner of our new expanded and completed convention center. Future board items, as they come up, please send them over to us and we'll get them, obviously in timely manners onto the agenda as we can. Please, again, get them in timely so we can put them on the local or on the agenda meetings. With that, unless there's anything else anyone wants to discuss, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, McBride.
Do we have a second?
Second, Crosby.
Great. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Have a great weekend, and hopefully everyone's power gets back on.
Peace.